Hello. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes before we get started. Good to see some people in here. All right. Yeah. So before I get started, this call is being recorded and will be posted online as meeting minutes. So if anyone has any issues with that, reach out. Okay, so the current state of OL, we are in day 88. It's the epoch number 106, and we have 72 validators currently, which is a raise from like 67 last week. And coming to the Carpe installations, we have this, um, okay, we have 1257 this week, up from 911 last week. And the Discord community size also increased, from 226 higher this week. We have a total of like 2,370 plus people on Discord. And that being said, there are a lot of new members joining the community. So if you're stuck, or then I would first recommend you to just try to get onboarded with the Carpe app. Try to run the miner. Go to the onboarding channel for that. And if you want to contribute to the project, there are a lot of working groups. Um, just find a working group which you feel you fit in, and just send a message there, and someone would reach out to you. All the working groups are actively looking for new members to join and contribute. Okay, let's start with the first big item on the agenda, which is the Carpe update. Rick, do you wanna talk about it?
Yeah, Shashank, thanks a bunch. Hey, everybody, welcome back to our weekly community meeting. One of the big items of news this week is that we are about to release, and in fact, it's really already out there if you know about it and you've been following the repository, what we are calling the beta version of Carpe. And we're calling it the beta for a couple of reasons. One of them is, first off, that this is really the first, I would say, pretty stable and predictable release that we've had. The previous versions, yeah, they were workable. A lot of known problems cropped up. A lot of development cycles going into fixing those, and we've arrived at a place now where we've got something that's stable and we can comfortably encourage people to use. There have been a number of improvements to it. The interface is smoother, it's a little slicker, it's a little more polished looking, a little more professional looking. It has its own identity now, as opposed to just merely inheriting the identity pieces from the underlying construction blocks. Additionally, it has a couple of new features that are giving us some interesting things to promote out there. One of them being the auto update feature, which just simply makes owning or possessing Carpe, I should say, much easier to do. We also have integrated the playlist functionality, so we shouldn't have that continual hopping between IPs manually that we had in the past. So the plan at this point in time, number one, if you don't have the new Carpe, get it. It is a big improvement. Number two, we will be making the announcement tomorrow. There will be a news item on the OL.network website. There will also be some social media push on this. We would appreciate it if everybody could jump in, give that some social media love, and share the news. It is a good bit of work, and we definitely are already starting to see a big uptake in our Carpe numbers. I mean, we jumped, 30% since the last week in active Carpe installs, and that's largely due to the fact that the beta is just such a improved piece of work. So that's big news this week for us. I think that's it, Shashank. Was there something else I was supposed to talk about, or does that cover it?
That covers it. So just a quick question. So if someone already has a Carpe app, do they just reinstall it, or should they delete
Yeah.
the existing app? Or what are the steps for that?
Yeah, good question. I should have said that. If you're running an older version of Carpe, all you need to do is just reinstall. Install right on top of the old one. It'll pick up all the dependencies in the libraries, no problem at all. If you are running like the 2.0 app, we're on 2.1 right now. If you're running the 2.0 app, all you need to do is quit it and restart it, and the auto update will occur. So yeah, thanks for flagging that, Shashank.
All right, thank you. And I'll just go to a quick roundup of the working group updates. So maybe I'll get started with the governance and engineering working groups. So Christian is not supposed is supposed to do the he's the archivist, and he's supposed to make it today, but he couldn't. So I'm just doing it on his behalf. Uh, Engineering working group, there was a discussion about bridge, which was um, there's already development on the initial framework for the move portion of the bridge, including sender, receiver, and escrow accounts. Work is still being continued on the move portion. Ethereum portion of the bridge work hasn't been started. And there is a discussion on creating a Gitcoin entry for Solidity developer. And there's still discussions on whether the present model is the right path forward. And the next one is about the teams. There are two rollout phases for the teams. In the first phase, it's just implementing an option to enable teams, and in the second phase, making it mandatory and implementing the difficulty ratchet. So this difficulty adjustment ensures that, if there's only a single validator entry is within be able to make it to the top 100, or the difficulty would be adjusted as the network grows, and different Carpe miners add to the security of the existing teams. And currently the phase one looks ready to go, and there is a GitHub pull request, which I'm not sure if it's already merged or is ready to be. It's it was ready for review a few days ago, so just have a look at it and share flag any issues or concerns if you haven't got a chance yet. And there's also active work going on Carpe Make Whole initiative. The analytics working group has identified that few of the miners haven't been paid, and we are trying to look into the Merkle tree structures to enable the miners to redeem the rewards which they're supposed to receive. And that's all from the engineering working group side. Coming to the governance working group, there's active work going on finalizing the mission and the scope, which will be shared for the wider community once we have a vote on it. And there is some election process going on for the next the three positions of the broker, archivist, and the coordinator, which would happen this week on Thursday. And there's also a plan to sponsor a Teams proposal for the wider community as a neutral party. Rick, you want to provide more details on this?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shashank. Can you ask me that again, please?
Um, so, this plan to sponsor the team's proposal for the wider community as a neutral party. And
Oh,
I see
yeah.
your name.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, we still haven't figured out exactly how that's going to go down. That's going to be taken up with the governance working group this week, which meets tomorrow. So, I mean, the team's proposal, the engineering work is done on it. We do think it is important. It's something that we've done a couple of AMAs around. We've mentioned it here in the weekly call. We did a presentation in the weekly call. Not really sure how much more comms we can do around it, but it's for the group to decide what the process is, not me. So we'll take that up tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for that. And yeah, Rick, can you also give updates from the branding and comms working groups and the coordinators working group?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, at this point in time, we haven't had the elections in either of those working groups, so I'm still the interim archivist. So for branding and comms, that working group's really been getting good traction. Design Sage and Lex have been leading us not only through the whole brand values thing. We saw that presentation last week, and that document has been shared out as well for those who want to see that presentation. But we also made good progress on chunking out the design work that came out of that branding brief, and have started to break that up into tasks, find bounties for it, and socialize it in the community. So we're starting to see a little bit of speed, if you will, picking up on the branding and comms side now that that foundational piece is done. We've also been trying to get some coordination together around press releases and external comms. We had the release from Miston Labs just recently. We're going to be pushing out the announcement about the Carpe Beta that I mentioned earlier tomorrow. And then next week we have another partnership that is pending, that is, if we can get put to bed, we hope to announce next week as well. Just trying to create a cadence of external announcements, raise the visibility of the project, build the brand, and really sort of get our arms in particular around the developer community. That second press release is aimed really squarely at that community. We're also trying to work really hard on recruiting right now. We really need more workers in general. We really need resources for external comms and community management. The social media side is also really important. So recruiting is a priority for branding and comms. If anyone here wants to get involved, we've got work for you right now and would love to see you show up. Let's see, I'm going through the meeting minute notes right now. We had some process discussions and needed to spin up some additional bounties. Those are all just sort of minor details that this group can find in the meeting minutes. We don't really need to go through it right now. And then we wound up having to terminate our meeting early this last week because there were connection problems with Discord. So it was a really shorter agenda than usual. But we took up inside of the Branding and Comms channel a discussion about our social media channel. Is auto, the right voice? Is it the exclusive voice for the project? Should we have multiple channels, etc.? So we're really sort of working through some of those channel management issues now that we've also worked through audience definition and setting primary goals. So that's what's happening with branding and comms. Just a reminder, that group meets immediately or in the time slot immediately after this meeting. So Branding and Comms Working Group is going to spin up here in 45 minutes and jump back into this today. If you've got any interest in either communications, internal and external, or the design side of things, we'd love to see you there. Next up, I'm also the interim coordinator, or interim archivist, for the Coordinators Working Group. First off, the Coordinators Working Group has moved their meeting time. Their meeting time is now on Wednesdays at 1600 Pacific. So if you were wanting to participate in the past and you couldn't because of the time, we've got a radically different time slot starting this week. We'll see how that works. Join us. The Coordinators Working Group, of course, is largely focused on coordinating between the other working groups and providing sort of a meta layer that helps us be more effective and efficient across our working group activities. There was a big discussion there on recruiting and a need to focus on recruiting. So we have spun up a subgroup, if you will, focused on recruiting. That group meets for the very first time today in about 3 hours, so 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's 1100 Pacific time. If you have an interest in helping us with recruiting, we want to try to spearfish some people. We also want to target some particular organizations and really see what we can do about bringing more, not only more bodies in here, but more capable bodies in here. You know, people that we want to be working with, people that know their stuff. So please show up, help us with that. It's really a priority for the community right now. As Shashank pointed out at the beginning when he was going through those key metrics, we're seeing some good growth right now, so it's a good time for us to double down on this and push harder. We also took nominations for the key roles. We're hoping to hold the election on that this week as well. There has also been some interest in setting up a community working group, or at least some people focused on building community. That's something that we are going to take up this week as well. The last item that was discussed last week that I wanted to point out was the topic of compensation for key roles. There has been some discussion about whether it's appropriate to compensate people who have been elected to these key roles and are expected to perform certain tasks, and more importantly, what's the mechanism for doing that. We reached consensus that there should indeed be compensation. We tabled the discussion about the methodology for the compensation so that we don't run afoul of regulators and create a centralized space. We tabled it until we could have discussion with legal counsel. We've had that discussion, and so we'll be taking up that topic today and seeing if we can figure out a mechanism for coming up with compensation for the key roles. And just looking back over the notes, I think that's everything that we want to cover in the meeting today, Shashank, so I'll hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Like the next item on the agenda is Scott and Vince from NewLab. I think they should be joining us soon. So before, like, we have some time.
Hey, Shashank, did you get the Hustle Karma Working Group update?
Okay. I don't see Comstock in here, but let me just pull the notes from there.
Guys, it's Vince from NewLab. Scott's joining now as well. I'm trying to get him into the meeting, so 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, Shashank, if you want, I can do the Hustle Karma update. I was at that meeting.
Yeah, cool. Go ahead.
Okay, so Hustle Karma had its weekly meeting on Tuesday, and that working group really is getting a lot of things done, which is really nice to see. We completed our elections on Tuesday, so I think we're the first group to do that. Yay. We also went through some changes to process that Design Sage had suggested around how to handle work that the outcomes are not binary on, for example, a lot of design work, right? Things where we're likely to have conditional acceptance or requests for revisions or rejections. So that process is starting to firm up. The whole Hustle Karma working group process itself, you can see it iterating and improving every week, right? There were changes this last week and suggestions about how we handle comms around payments. We've gotten our first monthly reports in from our various brokers across our groups that show the flow of tokens, and we're starting to post that and share that out to the community. So it's really nice to see that group's becoming a functional unit that's moving money to members, that's getting work done, and that's making some good decisions. One thing I should have mentioned at the Branding and Comms Working Group, on the internal comms side of things, I believe I mentioned in a previous meeting that we were going to launch a wiki for internal comms. The idea being that this would be publicly accessible, it would be an open collaboration platform, and it would be used to contain all of the various documents and materials that are being produced by our working groups and elsewhere. So, for example, it's one place you can point your browser where you will find parliamentary procedures, a list of all the working groups, the Hustle Karma process, the forms you need to submit for payment for Hustle Karma, everything, essentially the handbook for the organization. We wound up landing on MediaWiki, a bit old school, but in terms of a collaborative platform that's open to people that aren't, that has a population that isn't entirely developer focused, it's a good choice. We've got that deployed right now. The initial content population has gone into that. Several people are working with me right now on building that out, and we just need to skin it and we'll release it to the community. So my goal is to have that skinned and out there this week, but it is deployed. It does contain content, and anyone that wants to be involved, and if you've got any media wiki chops, please reach out to me. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'd love to have some help on that. But expect that new platform to be coming out shortly. Oh, and in case we had mentioned, anyone missed it, we also launched a new community calendar this week. You'll find it in the channel Community Calendar. It's essentially just a GCal with the web interface. And if you click on it, not only can you see all the meetings, but down on the bottom right-hand corner, you can subscribe to that calendar, add it to your Google Calendar, and then all of the working groups and the community meetings, etc., will populate inside your calendar, and it's a much easier way to keep up with what's happening around the community. The events function inside of Discord being a bit clunky. Okay, I see that we've got our guest speakers up here, and so I'm taking their time at this point, and I'm going to shut up. So over to you, Shashank.
Yeah, thank you for the updates. I'd like to add one more point. So Comstar conducted a survey on the payments about like the payments received so far by different contributors, and we have found that most of the people are happy with it, and most people still want to contribute again back to the same projects. So that's interesting stats, and we would have that published in the Hustle Karma channel soon. And I see Scott and Gwen's here. Thanks for joining, Scott. Do you want to just introduce yourself and also talk about NewLab to the OL community?
Great, thank you. Yeah, this is Scott Cohen, and Vince. Vince is also on the line. Vince Renzi is also on the line with me. Just to introduce to those of you that don't know, NewLab is a design and technology platform. We're based primarily in Brooklyn. We have a facility actually. We have about 100,000 square feet of former shipbuilding facility in the Brooklyn Navy Yard in New York. But what we do and the kind of work we do is global, and we do things all over the world, in India and Uruguay and all across the country in the U.S. Basically, we're a community of people working in frontier technology. That's everything from work in Web3 world to computational medicine, robotics. We really are at the meeting place of digital and physical worlds. So we're doing a tremendous amount of things that are impact oriented, that kind of bridge between the digital and the physical. And so we have a lot of people working on very tactile things here, as well as computational efforts at NewLab. And I think the thing that's maybe most interesting to me and relevant about the role we've been playing, we've been part of the OL community for quite a while, and I think NewLab has always been really very interested in wanting to be early adopters of these advanced technologies and helping to apply them to real world problems. That's where we really serve the most utility, is that we work with a lot of people working in frontier technology, but we also work with governments like the government of Uruguay and the government of New York and Detroit and folks in India. We work with mining companies, actual real mining companies that are trying to clean up the way they do mining, and we're very impact oriented focused. We work with utility companies. We work with companies that are ushering in the new generation of 5G, and we're really interested in trying to be a bridge to applying Web 3.0 to really practical kind of solution sets. And so I think we would like to be, like, OL is really about building infrastructure at this stage for the OL community, and so that the community begin using the tools that OL provides. And I think now that we are also a manager of a community account where we are all contributing tokens to a community account, we'd like to be more proactive at attracting those of you in the community that want to work with NewLab or work through NewLab to create solutions for the OL community that give it more utility in different fields. So I think if it's if you want to develop applications or even the infrastructure for application layer for OL, you should reach out to Vince, who's here with us. You can see him next to me. Victor Ethno is his handle there. And Vince, say hi to everybody. Let me introduce you real quick.
Yeah, how you guys doing? It's Victor Ethno after my favorite baseball player, Shane Victorino. So I'm Vince Renzi. If you want to contact me, my email is vince@newlab.com, as Scott's alluded to, and I work in finance and operations with NewLab. So involved with all expansion and the profitability of the business. So directly involved in, I guess, all of our different strategic initiatives.
Great. Yeah. So I just really invite you all, if you want to develop on the application layer, we definitely we're set up where we can allocate tokens from the community account to incentivize some of the work. We also have a facility if people want to gather together and work together. We can certainly make room here through our Flex membership program for people to convene here and work from the facility on projects that get approved by the community. And the only other thing that, just for visibility, so you all understand, the core things that NewLab does is we have membership. We have about 219 companies and probably another 200 alumni that have been members of NewLab, and we've accepted about 15% of the members that have applied over the past 8 years. And then the other thing we do is we run innovation studios, and we have about 19 that we run right now. We probably have about 25 by the end of the year, where we work with large corporations and with governments to identify very specific challenges they're trying to solve. We spend about 3-4 months identifying the challenge, and then we look for entrepreneurs around the world that are already solving some piece of that challenge. And we're working on everything from carbon sequestration to applying 5G to very specific things, to solving environmental issues in the mining world, to mobility, electrification and mobility for local communities with Ford. So we work with and we're working with the government of Uruguay and a whole bunch of different things. We also have a big project we're doing in Uganda that is a studio called Beyond Place, which is helping refugees reimagine and build their beginning of their own city. And we'd love to bring OL down to that project to begin to experiment with how they can build a system for a whole bunch of activities that they're trying to incorporate into how they actually build, run their city and run the beginning of this new community in the Nakivale refugee camp in Uganda. The third thing we do is we start new companies through our Venture Studio program. When we see a white space and there's an opportunity to create a new company, we lend our back office, our resources. We try to help de-risk the new company creation for the founders, and we have a team that works on that. And then the fourth thing that we do is we have a syndication program where we invest in opportunities selectively. We have about 900 investors that we can attract opportunities, and we have a team that runs that. And then, as a general rule, we have, there's probably on any given day 200-300 people at NewLab in Brooklyn, and there are a lot of people here in Web 3.0. So, the more we can socialize the work that you all are doing for the OL community to the community here, I think, we can actually, build more center of gravity here for the broader community, and we're very anxious to do that. I'll stop there. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. And you're also welcome to reach out to Vince or myself. I'm Scott at newlab.com.
Hey, Scott, didn't I see something about you guys picking up a Design Company of the Year award from, I think, Fast Company or someone?
We did. We got that last year, which was, we were very proud of that. I think Google or Nike had it the year before, and we're a pretty small company. We only have, really, at the time we had 35 employees here, but I think the confluence of a bunch of things we were doing, we brought together a team of about 75 people to build a kind of a poor man's ventilator during the pandemic, which we got through an FDA process very quickly, got authorized by the FDA, and built them, and together with MIT, open sourced the design to the rest of the world, and so that was one effort, and then a couple of other companies we created. I think it was the fact that we were doing so many disparate, different things at once. And the reason that happens is because we just have an infrastructure to empower entrepreneurs to move really quickly and efficiently. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, congratulations on that. I thought the whole bootstrapping a low cost and then open sourced ventilator in the midst of the COVID crisis was a brilliant piece of work by you guys that you were really well positioned to do. I mean, I think it really shows the strength of that NewLab model, right? As you're able to convene and bring together not only the engineering talent, but the business operations, the funding, and then the execution of that. You guys are, yeah, you have a VC incubator role, but you bring so much more to the table than you're certainly your typical VC, and even more than a lot of the incubators do as well. So I mean, as I look at what NewLab's doing with OL, I see two clear avenues, or if you prefer, motivators for engaging with you guys. One of them is that you control a community wallet that is dedicated towards helping build on OL. So if there's anyone in the room that's got a development project and is looking for support, reach out to them for community wallet funds. And additionally, you also have that VC division within the company. So if there's anyone here that's looking to do a startup and is looking for funding and a partner, you guys are also a solid choice, I think, in that regard.
I mean, one point of clarification is I think we wear this as a badge of pride and honors. We're not a VC. We actually, at the moment, don't even manage a pool of capital for anybody. We have about 900 investors that we expose opportunities to when we are working with things that we really are interested in and believe in and want to get behind. But we're not in a position where we are making we don't make decisions through a need to deploy money. We make decisions based on just kind of quality of intent and experience. And but we definitely I think we're really motivated to attract groupings of people working the OL community, working on very specific things, that there's a consensus among the community that this is something that is going to really help advance the infrastructure and the utility of the platforms that we're building. And so if there's, and we really do believe in the power of 2 or 3 people working together that agree, and there's a consensus of something specific. And we're not crypto native people. We're really passionate believers that Web3 is really critical piece of the next iteration of how we interact with one another digitally, and how objects interact with one another in the world as well. And we really appreciate that OL, the philosophy and the origin story of OL feels like something that we want to be part of the self-fulfilling prophecy of this. And so if we would love it if folks in the community would reach out to us with specific projects where and we can help to shape them and bring it back to the community to get more input and buy-in, to refine the ideas. But ultimately, we'd love to see in 2022 at least 3 or 4 really critical projects that can add to the OL community being built in nexus with NewLab and its community.
Thanks for all the updates. If anyone has any questions, just raise your hand and we'll get them on stage.
I mean, I think one of the most challenging things that we're going to be doing this year is trying to really expand the Move developer community, and so I'm hoping that there are going to be more opportunities for us to partner with NewLab in that process.
Zaki, do you have any particular ideas of how we can help motivate that and move it forward? Is there something specific you have in mind?
I think like one of the sort of, I mean, I don't have anything specific in mind. Just like randomly pops into my head is maybe doing something move focused. Whenever New York Blockchain Week happens this year, might be an interesting opportunity.
Ooh, that's interesting. Maybe a move hackathon at the Brooklyn Navy Yards. Is that what I see shaping up here? Maybe.
We actually have the ETH hackathon at NewLab booked in October, so the infrastructure is there.
Oh, sweet! I didn't know that. I was just taking a shot in the dark there. Interesting.
I mean, I'm definitely open and interested in that. I think it would be good. It would be really interesting, even maybe to start. Maybe we could create like a bit of a short memo and start socializing that we want to start. Just do some convenings leading up to that of people that are interested in and focusing and kind of becoming versed in Move. I think that might be worth doing sooner than later.
Oh, hey Rick, this is Adam. I just wanted to mention though, like for these hackathons and such, they're probably good to have them international. And while I know that we're kind of moving towards like in person, we have like a global network of community members that may not make it to New York and such, but to be able to have like virtual hackathons, I think, and to be able to figure out how that works, I think would be really interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
Totally.
They need to be as inclusive as possible. There's no doubt about that. I picked up on the idea of the NewLab facility in concert with Zaki's suggestion that perhaps we look at something to coincide with New York Blockchain Week. But, just brainstorming.
Yeah, Vince and I agree with you, Adam. I think that even if you do something that has some physical presence, I think thinking. And that, by the way, all of our whole strategy at NewLab is very global. Whenever we do outreach, we're doing things all over the world. So I think for sure we should. Is there work already happening inside the OL community that's cultivating kind of a community of folks that are focused on the Move programming? Is there anything happening already in the community around that?
Probably the first steps are being taken, trying to get some resources in place for the Move developers and figuring out which parts are missing and trying to get tutorials and the infrastructure in place for them to test their applications. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so like there's a couple of moving pieces here just to like kind of lay this out for everyone. One moving piece is trying to get alignment around a Move version that is sort of like essentially, I don't know if we want to call it Move 1.0, but like a thing that us in collaboration with Miston are like on board and potentially other organizations that are adopting Move, that we're sort of all adding everyone under the same tool chain and into the same. And like one of the things that we need to do is potentially upgrade OL to support that tool chain. So there's been sort of a versioning process that's been developing in the Move community about trying to define like a concrete Move release, and we want to make sure that gets supported. We have the Move, we have permissionless contract deployment on our current system, but if everybody is kind of trying to make a different version of Move work, it really sort of dilutes our resources. So one of the engineering focused activities is just trying to figure out what is the OL upgrade plan to make sure that we are on a version of Move that everyone in the ecosystem intends to support. And so we can all be going, speak with, being like, this is the tool chain, this is the initial developer experience. These are all the moving pieces that a Move developer needs to, so we're all onboarding everybody under the same tool chain. So that's like on the technical piece, the sort of work on this partnership with Mistin has also been like a huge effort to make sure that we are aligning OL with the future of Move, because the future of Move will be most likely is going to be defined by Mistin. So those are some pieces that we've been putting in place, and the conversations that we're kind of having right now are kind of about what then needs to happen as we sort of lock those things into place in sort of bringing Move to the world.
Got it. What is the organization Mistin that you were mentioning? What is that?
So Mistin is
Mistin.
Mistin is a venture funded startup company that basically was sort of in our view the smartest people from the DM team spun out of Facebook back in November. And they are building sort of a whole bunch of next generation blockchain tooling on virtually all levels of the stack, from consensus to smart contracts to But like one of the people who is the CTO of Mistin is Sam Blackshear, who is essentially the sort of father of Move, the creator of the Move language, and led the Move team at Novi. So this is one of the sort of key partnerships that we have announced and been aligning with, is really to make sure that OL is aligned with the future of Move.
For sure, that makes sense. Thanks.
All right.
Is there time for me to talk about some stuff?
Yeah, go ahead. You have some time.
Okay. Yeah. So there's two pieces. So one piece is Teams V1 is sort of ready for review from a pull request point of view. I think Teams is probably potentially the most is the first significant change to tokenomics and incentive design since the launch of this very young network. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be an interesting question. I think the way I would conceive of what we're trying to do with Teams really is we really want to take the work and the commitments that people have, the sort of symbolic representation of interest in this project that people have started with running Carpe, and sort of manifest this into sort of increased engagement and participation in the community. And also for those people who do participate more, an increased access to some of the incentives that are given in the consensus process. And so one of the things that so this is it's a very big change. It's a very important change. It's also an extremely innovative thing. I think there are basically like two possibilities for the future of OL. One is to sort of implement something that is exactly the same as the standard proof of stake delegation system, where only miners, the validators' towers maybe are significant, and then anyone else who wants to contribute is going to walk gas to those towers, and that might be a way of building it, which is not what we're doing. What we're doing is this mechanism of leveraging the Carpe users' towers rather than their coins to build teams, and it's a sort of a higher risk, higher reward. It's a higher risk, more innovative approach. Other than instead of just implementing proof of stake, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of community discussion, and we are sort of rapidly moving towards eventually a governance proposal to take Teams live, and I think it's going to be very interesting how that process unfolds. So that's one thing, continue to pay a lot of attention to Teams. It is the biggest deal thing. It's going to very much change the experience of all of the major OL contributors. It's going to change the experience of validators. It's going to change the experience of Carpe users. Everybody in the community sort of is potentially pretty seriously is going to have a big experience change from this. And it may improve I think it kind of has the potential to significantly improve the OL product and the OL community building process. So that's going on. And then the other thing that is important is we are very quickly reaching the first disbursement of funds from the full-time engineering fund that Occlusion runs. And so one of the things that I think is important here is that you should, if you have not already, make sure you reach out to me. And if you have been working more than 20 hours a week on OL, give me some details on what your work has been so that we make sure that you're part of the first disbursement.
That's really awesome. Are there any more items? Does anyone else wants to listen or add today? We have some more time left in this call.
Hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been stepping up lately. There's been a real increase in the amount of work that's going on around the community and the amount of engagement that I'm seeing. I think our engagement numbers on Discord were up something like 300% or 370% across the last week. So that's awesome to see. So thank you all for that. One thing I would ask everybody here is, with, for example, the Carpe Beta announcement tomorrow, it's going to be an opportunity for people to engage with Otto and Twitter and help push the messaging out for us. That would be super. I think Carpe is a great way to get our arms around people, to have them, have a stake in the project, be interested in the project, and eventually it is the on-ramp to additional functionality in the future. So, just a shout out to say thank you all, and don't stop now, okay? Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you all for participating and joining the call today. I'll see you around Discord throughout the week, and do show up in different weekly community calls. And